There were two main stories leaving the qualifying race, the first of which was that the tyre compound brought to this track was just a little too hard, and that would mean that it would make passing very difficult here on the legendary Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Belgium. And the second story would be that Alexis Rainsford has lined up a V8 Champ Car test, meaning more open-wheel testing for Rainsford. Of course, that test for Rainsford will come after the round of Italy in just a week's time. So with that being said, there really isn't any other story to cover, so Dan, off to you. Thank you, Lance. The Delano Pole Award went to Leonid Roderick in the number 4 Inglesby for Flash Racing. On the outside of the front row in that black car is Carlos Donzello in the 22 car coming into La Source. Donzello gets into Roderick, and there's a Roderick spins, Arto goes wide, and Arto's into the tires. So Carlos Donzello and Leonid Roderick got together. Arto Kekkonen went wide to avoid it, got himself in trouble, and got a bunch of other cars in trouble as well. I see Ian Cooper and Chris Johans in that mess. And towards the back, there was Vladimir Simonov. We're going to have another look at this on the replay right here. Here is Arto Kekkonen in the 14, the blue car. There's Donzello and Roderick. Arto goes way wide trying to miss it, but he gets himself in the tires. Matt Taylor is in there as well. Taylor was none too happy about this. Ian Cooper, Vladimir Simonov, and Chris Johans. So those 6 cars involved. Michael Sykes may have bumped Johans a little bit, but he appears okay. It looks like Donzello looks like he spun that car a little bit, so he must have slid the car in the rear, a little loose at the back, and got into Roderick. And the officials weren't too happy with Donzello for causing a first-turn pileup. This is great news for the Volpe Racing team, though. Alexis Rainsford and Zach Duff would begin to pull away from third-place Alan Hodges. Rainsford and Duff were both very fast here in practice. Neither Scott Stoidler in car 23 or Zelda Ashby in car 55 took the start. Both had mechanical problems on the dummy grid. Alexis Rainsford and Zach Duff, you see here, stretching their lead a little bit over Alan Hodges in third. You can see that the two Volpes were very, very strong here. Their teammate Franz Redlich was not having such a good run. He's way back through the field. However, this is the most competitive Zach Duff's been all season, and that's saying something. Duff is showing that he could actually be in a contention to win this race, and that would be great for him because he's had a disaster of a 2010. Morgan Hamburg sits back in fourth. The Connecticut native attempted a race a few years ago, didn't qualify, and is running for the Independence Trophy this season. He attempted Cariala, didn't make it, but here he is, and he's performing quite well. We think he's got a qualifying setup in this 68 car for J.D. McDermott, so we're just going to have to keep an eye on Hamburg throughout the course of the day. Rainsford, after lap 2, is going to be leading. Zach Duff in second, Alan Hodges third, Morgan Hamburg sits in fourth, then Eisenman, Donzello, Everett, Kingston, Leonard, Devereaux, Savin, Pliskin, Durbin, Woody Watts, and Dale Roswell, as you see on the left side of the screen. New TV graphic there. You'll also notice that the two other Corsairs of Devereaux and Savin also having a strong day. But Alexis Rainsford is beginning to pull away from her teammate just a little bit, as she has done here. She did here in 2008, I might add. Marcus Leonard in car 999 has a new sponsor on this car. The Onion jumps on board, and Leonard giving them a great run so far. Might also have noticed something going wrong with Morgan Hamburg in the 68 car. We think he's got a flat tire because coming up Eau Rouge, he suddenly slows down and pulls off to the side. However, the engine sounded fine. So, as we're here on board with him, looks like Hamburg's going to have to nurse the 68 car back to the pit lane, and that's a long way away. This is a 4.3 mile track, so he's got his work cut out for him if he's going to make up all that ground and get back into back into the lead group. I dare say he's not going to have enough time to do it. Carlos Donzello in car number 22 didn't exactly make himself best friends with the officials on the first lap. However, they pretty much, I think, let him off the hook here. They gave him a warning for aggressive driving, which I think is probably the most you can do in this situation. However, the officials have been keen to give out some pretty big penalties for first turn crashes in the past. So I dare say this might be a change of heart from the officials, at least on regard of Donzello's incident. back with Marcus Leonard in the 999 machine. He's actually lost a little bit of ground to Lewis Kingston right in front of him. However, Marcus Leonard in this 999 car is sitting third in the championship, and it looks like he may suffer the same problem Zelda Ashby had on the start, and Marcus Leonard's car blows up early on. Sadly, a very disappointing early end for Marcus Leonard, who was actually running very well. Franz Redlich in car number 2 is going to pit on lap number 2 from 30th. He's not had a good weekend here. He's had a couple crashes in practice. Leon Kennison in car 39, we also believe picks up a flat tire. He slows down on the track, but he's able to get it back into the pits. And Yulia Nasova in the 7 car, however, looks like there's been some more reliability problems striking the Katsevs. Nasova slows down on track, but she's going to stall it on the course and go 5 laps down. So here we are up here with Zach Duff in 2nd place. Can you see Alexis Rainsford from his windshield? A little red dot up there. Well, now you can probably see it. Looks like Duff is closing in on Rainsford, but she has pulled up quite the gap on her teammate. So Duff has got his work cut out for him if he's going to win this race. However, I think he'd be happy with a 2nd, judging by how his season has gone. Alan Hodges in 3rd. Probably would be happy with another win. However, Hodges' pace this weekend has been quite impressive. Alan Hodges and his teammate Adrian Devereaux have been taking shots at each other in the media. However, all seems to be going quite well at Hodges Walter, with Hodges and Devereaux both being the kind of driver to exceed well under pressure. 63-year-old Dale Roswell is running very well here in the early stages of the race. This is no surprise. Roswell finished 2nd here in the rain in 2008. Great run so far for Roswell in the Majestic Motorsports Gaznia. Alexis Rainsford is still leading on lap 10. Zach Duff in car 28 still 2nd. And guess what? Alan Hodges is still 3rd. Drew Eisenman 4th. Carlos Donzello moves up to 5th. Ethan Everett, Lewis Kingston, Adrian Devereaux, Danny Salvin, and in 10th, Kurt Pliskin as the rest of the field runs down. Alexis Rainsford has had a few races on road circuits where she takes an early lead and then runs away with the entire race. This looks like it could be another one of those races. Alexis Rainsford's prowess on these tracks has been quite impressive. So impressive that she's been linked to open wheel racing several times, however Rainsford herself has been coy about that particular question in the media. David Krikorian has not had a very good run as of late, and his Lenard's going to experience mechanical trouble on lap 10. He brings it into the pits to try to fix it, but the crew never gets it back out on the track. Sad end for the race for DK. Vladimir Simonov in car 232 is one of the last 2 Katsevs running up front, rather. He's running sort of in midfield. His engine blows on the 232 car. And despite all rumors, it looks like Simonov may actually be retained by the Katsev team, which puts Woody Watts and Yulia Nasova's futures in some doubt. Gasper de Souza in the 169 car is going to also experience trouble. This is notable because this is one of Alan Hodges' team cars. However, this is the first time we've seen de Souza way off the pace of all of his teammates. All of them are running in the top 15. De Souza is running way down in the field in the 169 car. Little controversy here on lap 15 is Milano Rossini in the Corsa punts Matt Taylor into the tires, and Taylor goes out of the race on lap 15. Matt Taylor was livid about this one over the radio, using many words that I can't repeat here without a censor. So Matt Taylor is going to get a bump from Rossini coming off the corner. It looks like Rossini just tries a little bit of Talladega bump drafting on a road course, which doesn't work. We're looking off the back bumper camera of Matt Taylor as they come up through Eau Rouge, and we're going to see the end of Matt Taylor's day. Last lap of it, rather. And see, Taylor's got a pretty big gap on Rossini here. Rossini started second last in this race, and has been working his way through the field largely due to attrition, because the Corsa is not the fastest car in the field. But it's still a good run for Rossini, but this is definitely going to blot his copybook. And looks like he just laid on Matt Taylor's bumper and turned him around. Alexis Rainsford in the 27 car is going to kick off the only pit stop of the day for most people, and pits on lap 16. Let's see who's going to take the pits with her. Zach Duff doesn't. Alan Hodges, Drew Eisenman, waiting for everyone else. There's Ethan Everett in the 11. Lewis Kingston in the 44. Great run for him, by the way. Danny Savin, Kurt Pliskin, Tony Durbin, Woody Watts, Dale Roswell, Matthias Taub, Michael Sykes. You might wonder what happened to Adrian Devereaux. Long stop for him, dropped him through the field. Zach Duff is the only car to stay out until lap 17, so that he had a really fast lap on low fuel, and that's going to help him immensely. Anthony Evans is running 27th so far in the race. I mentioned him because he hardly ever qualifies. He's currently being outpaced by Leonard Roderick with no hood on the car, and for the most part this season he's been outrun by both Ian Cooper and Scott Bates. This is one of the few times he's qualified, and to be honest, we're not sure what's going to happen to Anthony Evans next season. However, he may be retained by the team. Michael Sykes is running 13th on lap 18. He has climbed his way up through the field, whereas fellow Independence Trophy contender Morgan Hamburg has dropped through the field. This is not good news for Hamburg, but great news for Sykes. A fantastic drive from the young Welshman in his second Master Cup outing. Zach Duff in car 28 holds the lead of the race. Here we are on lap 18 with Alexis Rainsford sitting in second place still. Nothing's changed there. Zach Duff has not... I mentioned earlier that Duff has not had a very good 2010 campaign. We're not sure if Volpe is actually willing to retain Duff, so this is going to help Duff's career with the team and hopefully get him a new contract at the rate he's going. Alexis Rainsford in car 27 in the closing stages of the race was beginning to reel Zach Duff in despite Duff beating Rainsford in the pit stop cycle. So we're going to see Rainsford put on one of those great late race charges, and we may see a battle for the lead between the two teammates. Lap 20, here are the intervals. Zach Duff in the lead. Alexis Rainsford in second. Rainsford is closing the gap. Alan Hodges in third. Running in fourth is still Eisenman. Doesn't look like we've had too many shakeups as far as as far as the pit stops have taken effect. Ethan Everett, Lewis Kingston, Danny Salvin, Kurt Pliskin, Tony Durbin, Woody Watts, Dale Roswell. Michael Sykes has jumped up to 12th. He's probably been the only car that's actually been making a lot of passing moves. He's been making some daring moves. Michael Sykes has jumped up some spots. Chris Johans has dropped a few in the pits. Jacques Bouvier has gained a few in the pits as well. And going back to third place, Alan Hodges. Some people thought that switching from the Nova, which was already a successful car, to the Corsair would be a little bit suicidal. The Corsair did not look very fast in testing. Here we are about midway through the season. It's already got 2 wins. Who's right, Alan Hodges or the critics? Alexis Rainsford in second place is still putting on her spirited charge in order to get Zach Duff. She's gaining on him by almost a second a lap, so it is not unfeasible that Rainsford might have a go at him, but the one thing she might run out of is time. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this, especially if Rainsford really begins to pick up the pace. Volpe is not keen on team orders, so he's going to let the 2 cars race no matter what happens. Jacques Bouvier in car 59 won his first race in Germany, and here he is following that up with a great result here so far. There's been some rumors that Bouvier may be off to the Gaznier team with Majestic Motorsports, since that is a French car and they're looking after a French driver, and Adrian Devereaux is under an ironclad contract with Alan Hodges apparently. So we could also see Flair Motorsports dissolve and Bouvier would have a move over there. Tony Durbin is having a pretty strong run. We haven't talked much about the points leader today, and that's because he hasn't done much. Durbin's been very quiet throughout most of the race. He's just trying to get himself a top 10 finish just to pad his points lead a little bit. Unfortunately for Durbin, the two of his main points competitors are ahead of him. The only one of his championship contenders he's really not beating, or rather he's beating, is Leonard Roderick and Arto Kekkonen. Ethan Everett having probably the best run since his debut. This is probably one of the most convincing drives from Everett. We haven't seen too much of him, but keep in mind, after his debut win, he really has had to get acclimatized to these new TM Master Cup Series cars. We haven't seen too much of him, but the 18-year-old is being very, very strong here so far today. Hopefully Everett is retained by SAR USA, so we'll be able to see more of Everett, because this is he's running very well and outpacing Tony Durbin, which is not at all an easy feat. Drew Eisenman is ahead of Ethan Everett, and this is probably the best run we've seen out of Eisenman. However, Eisenman's not fast enough to get at the two Volpes in front of him or Alan Hodges. And unlike Ethan Everett, it doesn't look like the team are too happy with Eisenman. Despite being second in the championship, apparently Saar was looking for Eisenman to have scored up a race win by now, and he hasn't exactly done that. Back up in second, Alexis Rainsford is going to move around the lap car of Azuma Kazuyama, who's had a very slow pit stop and has just been slow altogether. Not sure about it, Kazuyama next season, but anyway, Rainsford is beginning to give Zach Duff a real run for his money. She's really begun to put in laps over a second quicker than Duff. Duff is obviously just saving his stuff, apparently, and just trying to cruise home. Apparently, Duff's not aware that Rainsford's chasing him very quickly. However, it's going to pay off for Duff because Rainsford's going to run out of time, and despite a very spirited charge, Zach Duff takes home his second TM Master Cup Series victory, and what a boost to his 2010 campaign after a disastrous start. Duff picks it up. Alexis Rainsford finishes in second place. Alan Hodges, a strong third. Drew Eisenman in fourth. Ethan Everett, a convincing fifth. Lewis Kingston, great finish for him after he's had a lot of pace this season, but a lot of early trouble. So Kingston finally gets one up on his two teammates, both of whom ironically encountered early race trouble. Danny Savin, the Rockstar, finishes in seventh. Kurt Pliskin in eighth, the only one of the Predators to actually finish the race. So apparently something wrong on the Power Steering Incorporated side of things. Tony Durbin in ninth. All about finishing well for Durbin, not exactly being the fastest car out there. He was looking for a good points day since this is not one of Durbin's best tracks. And Woody Watts in the Katsiv in 10th place. Great effort by Woody, and hopefully this could lead to better things. Possibly a new contract, or possibly a ride with a different, possibly better team for Woody. And here are the top 10 in points leaving Spa. Tony Durbin still has the lead over Drew Eisenman, but that's only 11 points. Alan Hodges sits in third. Alexis Rainsford jumps to fourth. Adrian Devereaux did not have a very good run here. Had a bungled up pit stop, dropped him to fifth in the championship. Marcus Leonard came in here third. Early mechanical DNF drops him to sixth. However, Leonard's still in contention. Arto Kakkonen in seventh. Jacques Bouvier eighth. Ethan Everett jumps up to ninth, meaning that Everett is going to finally begin to mount a charge to Adrian Devereaux as the American and the Frenchman will compete for Rookie of the Year, along with, I might add, Jacques Bouvier. So it looks like it's going to be Ethan Everett versus the two French drivers for that battle, and Scott Bates rounds out the top 10, the Oklahoma native, running very well this season. And here's 11 through 20 in the championship with Leonid Roderick and Chris Johans, just separated by 1 point. Roderick, of course, early troubles dropped him to 11th. This is not the best points run we've seen Roderick on. However, and by his own admission, Roderick is out for race wins now in order to jump him further up the points chart. Chris Johans 12th, Woody Watts up to 13th in the standings, the leading Katsiv car by a fairly significant margin. Scott Stoidler 14th, Yamino Tenchi, the leading Nemoto, in 15th. Matt Taylor 16th, the leading Gasnier, followed by Dale Roswell, the second Gasnier, the leading STS, with Leon Keniston in 18th. Zelda Ashby in 19th, and Danny Savin brings up the rear for the Colton Morrell Brigade in 20th place. We're not sure what's going to happen to Danny Savin next year. Stay tuned. And here is the Independence Trophy leading Spa. The only major change is that Michael Sykes has jumped way up to fourth. 103 points behind, and that is, I'd say Michael Sykes could actually make up that margin by the end. However, he still also has to deal with Nils Salonen, who's got a pretty significant lead. Cyrus Laterza in second. Also, we could see Laterza qualify for a few more races and possibly take that lead back. Charlie Waters sits in third. Should also probably point out that Morgan Hamburg is sitting, I believe, 12th or so in the Independence Trophy standings after his run today. The Independence Trophy has really produced an interesting points battle, so we're going to have to keep an eye on this for the rest of the season.